VR video 18. Today, I'm getting blown up in Tank Arena VR. Huge shout out to Stoic Entertainment for giving us a key for the video. Now, without further ado, let's get on with the impressions, shall we? This ain't a review, these are just my thoughts on my experience. But the game is exactly what you think it is. A multiplayer deathmatch arena style game where the loop is simple, you just aim, shoot in a boomer shooter style arena. The controls laid out in front of you are very simple. Your left hand moves your tank and your right hand is your tank cannon. Now if you're going into this expecting to be able to jump in and jump out, think again. The controls for this game will take some time to get used to, even for me. My first few games for this really took me through a loop. At the end of my gaming session, I don't think this game gelled too well with me. It was quite the mission. I appreciate the effort given, but I feel as if it falls flat. Now people will say like, oh, you haven't gotten used to the controls yet. I say to you, shut up, play it yourself and actually give your own opinion. I played this game for about an hour, trying to get a feel for it. I don't think tank controls gel well with me. I feel as if this should have been more of a arcade style game. When you move, it shouldn't always be about moving forward with your hands. Maybe I just don't like that kind of movement. I feel as if this game should have been a little bit faster. Like a shmup, you know? Just top-down shooters, using a ship and you start blasting. Man, I've really had shmup games on the mind recently. But in my experience, I didn't find much in this game. There wasn't much variety in weapon options. I saw when playing AI matches that the AI had different types of weapons like shotguns, rockets, the works. But for me, all I had was like a standard tank shot and no real way to power it up. Yeah, you may get a little special for your tank which can give your vehicle some extra juice, but not much else. I didn't feel like there was much variety in the weapon selection. You don't get to choose or customize your tank per se. Now, repairing your tank when you get hit is pretty simple. There's a hammer to your left, you grab it and start flailing your arm around. I think if you had 3 players in a single tank specifying a role, like you would have a driver, an engineer and a gunner, I think this game would have worked out a lot more better in a more squad-based format. Aiming your tank is as simple as using the right stick to tilt your aim and pulling the trigger. I still think that if you had a secondary when your primary had no ammo, I think you would have a little more choice and options. But my previous point still stands. There's not a lot of weapon variety unless you actually decide to grind the game. Unlocking everything is nice and all, but I think if you were trying to go for more of a customization, the developers should have had a little bit of a closer look to give the player more choice of personification and personalization to their own tank. The arenas you're playing as well, there isn't even many of them. It's like there was only 3 in the starting game. I think these arenas were more like boomer shooter arena. Like I don't know if you've played a boomer shooter in multiplayer, but like usually they're quite small, secluded maps with pickups littered around the place. That's how these maps felt. I think if they took a bit more inspiration from a game like War Thunder and made the maps a bit larger and more of a tactical perspective, I think they would have been so much more fun and enjoyable. This game is a great attempt if it's their first. If it's the latest, I think they need to up the ante a little bit. Now I understand development is hard and an arduous process, but I would have preferred if the tank controls were more arcadey. You could choose to have the left stick moving you around and the right stick to turn you a little bit. A bit more of a FPS feel, but still have a little bit of motion for aiming your weapon or trying to turn around. It's hard to explain unless you've actually had a go at it. Aesthetic wise, it feels like a cutesy World of Tanks kind of deal. It feels like they were trying to go for a hybrid between a casual aesthetic and a more realistic aesthetic. I don't feel as if the two meld together. The game does have its own unique feel at least, but I don't think it's for me. I think accessibility is a very important feature for your VR title, especially if you're just trying to get people into VR. I think the worst part for me personally is there's no option to reorient yourself. So if you're sitting by a desk and trying to play a game and there's stuff around you, it's a really bad idea. You should really set up your play space to be more open and should really plan your session ahead of time. For me, I had to be sitting up straight and actually having myself lean forward so I can actually get an optimal experience to actually turn, move and shoot. Before you boot up the game, make sure you're in a good spot and make sure your play space is open. But if you're after a vehicular combat game, I don't think this is it. I will agree, it is a conceited effort and well attempted, but I think execution was slightly off. I think more quality of life settings would make this game a bit more enjoyable, and more customization would be a more fun. Being able to set decals or like being able to grab the tank in like a customization mode, placing stickers and changing the barrel, changing like your secondary weapon if you had one. I don't think this game is much fun. It feels stale when you're just trying to play the game in general. I don't think it works out too well. But I hear they're working on another arena game called Ultimate League. I'm hoping their next endeavor is an improvement rather than a revision.